Rudy Giuliani holds a press conference and everybody questions what he has and what he doesn't and why is his hair melting. Georgia moves to certify that Biden won the state as Michigan goes into another audit. A man falls from a ladder and died from COVID-19, and Rittenhouse does his duty as an American patriot by using his stimulus to buy an AR-15. I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good morning, folks. Welcome to Contemporary. My name is Jay Edgar. We have got a bunch of stuff to get to today. This is a packed episode. But before we get into any of this here, I've got to sell the wares here and send you on over to freedomscoop.com. Freedomscoop.com is going to be your one-stop shop for all of your news and commentary needs, where we carry great shows such as The Generational Gap. We also carry the Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, which has been missing in action for a little while. We'll have to reach out and see what's going on with Wyatt and make sure he's okay over there. Also, check out the Freckles and Brit Show and the R-Rated Conservative. Come on over, visit our website, pick up some of our swag, and help us support great creators. Looking in at the stocks, looks like it was a down day throughout the majority of the day with a little bit of an up right at the end, popping up over the previous close, meaning it was a positive day. But according to the futures, we are not going to be looking at the positive day for long. Looks like they're looking right back down. So let's see what the experts have to say on that. Starting with Investors Business Daily. Dow Jones Futures cut losses as coronavirus vaccine push offsets COVID restrictions. From Ed Carson. Dow Jones Futures were just below break-even Friday morning, while S&P 500 futures were flat. NASDAQ futures rose slightly, a California curfew and other fresh coronavirus restrictions as COVID cases hit new highs raise concern about the economic recovery. But Pfizer and BioNTech are applying today to the FDA for approval of the coronavirus vaccine. The stock market rally bounced back Thursday with growth stocks leading. On Thursday, a number of leading stocks offered early buy points. Software makers CrowdStrike, Okta, Twilio broke trend lines, so arguably did AMD, Novocure. They also approached trend lines. All 5 stocks are staging rebounds from their 50-day and 10-week lines. Workday, Williams-Sonoma, and Intuit reported better than expected earnings late Thursday. Workday stock reversed lower in extended trade. Intuit stock was flat after closing within a buy zone. Williams and Sonoma stock jumped, suggesting a possible breakout from a short consolidation. Finally, Tesla hit record high Thursday before pairing gains. China EV makers NIO, XPeng Motors, and Li Auto outpaced Tesla. Tesla and Novocure stock are on the IBD leaderboard. CrowdStrike stock, that's a difficult one to say 10 times fast. Tesla and AMD are on Swing Trader. On the future, Dow Jones Futures dipped 0.1% versus fair value, well off overnight lows. S&P 500 futures were flat. NASDAQ 100 futures rose 0.15%. Coronavirus restrictions and social distancing, though helpful in curbing the COVID-19 spread, also could chill an already slowing economic recovery. Tech futures are less affected, benefiting from stay-at-home plays. Zoom tilted higher. The official source of interviews on the Freedom Scoop network. They're not paying us to say that, we just all use it. But the prospect of multiple coronavirus vaccines is beginning to immunize the public in just a few weeks offers a brighter picture of a few months down the road. And the fact that we've got market competition on this is even better. Once again, I'm not going to take the damn thing. But now we can sit here and drive the prices down. Oh, Pfizer? No, I want the Moderna one. It's a little bit less expensive. My insurance covers that one, that the federal government mandates that I have, even though they don't impose a penalty if I don't. Oh, no, I only have to take one of the Pfizer one? No, Pfizer is 2. Moderna, I think, is 1. Oh, I only have to take one of the Moderna one? Why would I want the Pfizer one? So marketing is going to be great for this, and I love to see it here. Meanwhile, the Treasury Department late on Thursday said that it asked the Federal Reserve to extend some emergency coronavirus aid programs for 90 days, but also end others, including the Main Street lending program. Some of these programs were used sparingly, but the Fed said it would prefer to keep all of the programs because then they can keep pumping that fucking money out and driving the inflation a little bit more, maintaining the fact that they are the most powerful bank in the world. Mnuchin, or the next Treasury Secretary, reportedly could revive the lapsed programs. Remember, overnight action in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. All right, let's keep going here. From CNBC, Dow futures edge lower as fresh virus restrictions raise concerns about recovery from Yoon Lee. Stock futures were slightly lower early Friday as rising new coronavirus cases cast doubt on a swift economic recovery. Also weighing on sentiment was a disagreement between the Treasury Department and the Federal Reserve over the continuation of funding for some of the emergency programs implemented during the recession. Futures on the Dow implied an opening drop of less than 50 points. S&P 500 futures and NASDAQ 100 futures were also little changed. On the bullish side, markets got more good news on the vaccine front, with Pfizer and BioNTech saying they will apply for an emergency use authorization for their vaccine. From the FDA on Friday, the company said they can already be ready to ship the vaccine within hours after FDA approves the authorization. The market's rally to records slowed down in recent days as more immediate concerns about the worsening pandemic overshadowed optimism toward a viable vaccine. The U.S. 7-day average of daily new COVID-19 infections now stands at 161,165, according to the CNBC analysis of Johns Hopkins data. 26% higher than a week ago. The cases! The deaths are stagnant, but the cases are everywhere. They're everywhere. It's around the corner. The case is going to get you. Many states have rolled back reopening plans and implemented fresh restrictions to curb the spread. And we will see what happens off of this. I've got I believe a statement from Biden later on down the stack. Yep, down there on Newsweek that's, oh no, my hairy legs aren't gonna, they're not gonna shut down the economy no more. So we will see what happens off of that. Let's talk Giuliani. Fair warning, I have not watched this in its entirety. I should have, but I have not watched this in its entirety. From people who have listened to it in its entirety, from what they tell me, it's pretty fucking juicy. And there's a lot of evidence there to show that both Giuliani and Powell are not going to just put their reputations on the line without having something there. But I can't say anything because everything that I'm going to do at this point is hearsay. But I've got the Daily Wire talking about the press conference itself, and Fox, CNN, and Politico all coming back to try and say, oh, Giuliani's wrong. But let's see what they have to say. Trump legal team holds a presser. Trump won in a landslide. We're going to prove it. From Amanda Prestigiacomo. Members of President Trump's legal team claimed to the American public at a press conference held Thursday that Trump won the election in a landslide if it had not been for alleged fraudulent votes and other shady dealings. They also promised that they would prove it. Former New York City mayor and lawyer to the president, Rudy Giuliani, said that in states including Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Nevada, and Arizona, the legal team has found more than double the number of votes needed to overturn the election in terms of provable illegal ballots. Mr. Giuliani cited general lawsuits and affidavits to support his claim, adding that he hopes to make more affidavits public. He also claimed there was voter fraud in big cities controlled by Democrats. The number of voter fraud cases in Philadelphia could fill a library, Giuliani said. The recount in Georgia, he said, will tell the American people nothing since signatures were not being inspected, and in Pennsylvania, Giuliani alleged 682,770 ballots were cast, and weren't inspected, which he said should be void. There were two different standards in parts of the state of Pennsylvania when it came to counting ballots, referencing so-called cured ballots. The lawyer added. Let's have a listen, because it sounds like, yep, we can listen to this.
Of fraud allegations in the state of New Mexico, and we have a significant number of allegations in the state of Virginia. I don't know yet whether the number in Virginia will reach the number that can turn the election. In the states that we have indicated in red, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Nevada, and Arizona, we more than double the number of votes needed to overturn the election in terms of provable illegal ballots. All you got to do to find out if I'm misleading you at all is to look at the lawsuits. Look what's alleged. Look at the affidavits. Maybe we can supply more affidavits. In order to do it, I have to get permission from the people of fraud allegations in the state of New Mexico.
Show me the documents. The documents. Show me the documents. Former Michael Flynn attorney Sidney Powell voiced her own outrage over allegedly illegal actions that the Trump team says swayed the election. This is stunning, heartbreaking, infuriating, and the most unpatriotic act I can even imagine for people in this country to have participated in any way, shape, or form, Powell said. And I want the American public to know right now that we will not be intimidated. Oh, they're going to try. We're going to take this country back, she promised, adding President Trump won by a landslide, and we're going to prove it.
Being in office were allowed to rig their elections. This is stunning, heartbreaking, infuriating, and the most unpatriotic acts I can even imagine for people in this country to have participated in any way, shape, or form. And I want the American public to know right now that we will not be intimidated. American patriots are fed up with the corruption from the local level to the highest level of our government, and we are going to take this country back. We are not going to be intimidated. We are not going to back down. We are going to clean this mess up now. President Trump won by a landslide. We are going to prove it, and we are going to reclaim the United States of America for the people who vote for freedom.
How come you're not suing in the Wisconsin County?
Attorney Jenna Ellis emphasized that this press conference would act as the legal team's opening statement, stating that hard evidence will be presented in court. She also lambasted the press, referring to the mainstream media as the court of public opinion and bashing them as biased. I would strike 99% of the journalists if they were her jury, she said. I would be allowed to because of the fake news coverage you provide. Let's see what Jenna Ellis had to say.
Simpler facts. One thing happened in a matter of minutes, and it still takes days. And we go through a jury process. This is the court of public opinion right now. We are not trying our case in the court of public opinion, because if we were, we would get unbiased jurors. I would strike 99% of you from the jury, and I would be allowed to because of the fake news coverage you provide. You are not unbiased jurors. And until you step out of your role as a journalist and actually go into a courtroom and you are a judge on a bench that has sworn an oath to be unbiased in our separation of powers, then your opinion does not matter. The facts matter, the truth matters, and if you are fair reporters, you will cover that fairly and appropriately, and you will allow coverage of our media team here and our legal team. That is absolutely shocking that all you cover are around the margins, and I've seen all of you taking pictures right now, and I can anticipate what your headlines are going to be. If you are not...
So that's what Jenna Ellis had to say. As the Wall Street Journal reported on Thursday, Trump's legal team has filed lawsuits in multiple states and are working to halt some election result certifications. Some of their lawsuits have been dismissed, others withdrawn, while others pending. And in the Daily Wire article, which I will put into the Discord for you, and I always say that and I never do, but the full The full conference is here. It's I guess about an hour, so we'll have the opportunity to listen. Thank you to the Daily Wire for putting that up there. It's actually, which screen is my Discord on? It's on this side. Let's do that right now so I don't forget, like I usually do. It is in the Discord. The full video is at the bottom, so you guys can go and check that out. I highly recommend doing so. I will be listening to that later myself, so looking forward to seeing that and seeing what you guys think and seeing what was actually said throughout this entire thing. All right, let's keep going. Fox News has to put their spin onto this. Change a couple settings here, just in case we get autoplay. From Fox News, Giuliani presses Trump election challenge case in fiery news conference with legal team from Ron Blitzer. President Trump's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, aggressively made the case on Thursday for the Trump campaign's legal challenge of the 2020 election results, alleging in a fiery news conference that there was a centralized plan to carry out voter fraud around the country. I got hair in my mouth. This is a different approach than the campaign has recently taken in court, where they have primarily focused on the validity of ballots and counts without asserting fraud. While Giuliani did not present any direct evidence of a massive fraud scheme, Giuliani did assert that this is the legal conclusion reached as a result of incidents he said took place in several states. What I'm describing to you is massive fraud, Giuliani said at the Capitol Hill news conference with other members of Trump's legal team, who repeatedly lashed out at the news media and accused them of treating their efforts unfairly. At one point, Giuliani repeatedly told one reporter, "You're lying." His descriptions largely entailed recitations of allegations put forth in several lawsuits that the Trump campaign has filed. Former Vice President Joe Biden is the projected winner in the contest, but the Trump campaign is contesting those calls, raising concerns in several battleground states. The former New York City mayor spoke out about incidents in Pennsylvania where Republican poll watchers claimed they were not allowed to observe the counting process because they were kept too far away. A judge had ruled in their favor but ordered that they be permitted 6 feet away from the counting at a center in Philadelphia, but that was overturned after officials appealed. Giuliani also claimed that while Pennsylvania does not allow absentee voters to fix any errors with their ballots, some were given that opportunity, but not those from Republican areas. He cited sworn affidavits from cases in Pennsylvania and Michigan from poll workers who spoke about instruction from supervisors. One affidavit said the workers in Pennsylvania were instructed to assign ballots without names to random people, resulting in thousands of people in Pittsburgh showing up to the polls to find that votes had been cast in their names. Another affidavit shows that a supervisor in Michigan instructed workers to change the dates on absentee ballots to show that they arrived earlier than they had. An affidavit also claimed that workers were told not to request photo identification from Michigan voters even though the state law requires it. Giuliani also said that approximately 100,000 absentee ballots in Wisconsin should have been deemed invalid because there were no applications for them. That's interesting. I'd like to see the evidence on that. I can buy it because I've seen what happens in Dane County and Milwaukee County, but I would like to see the documents on that. Show me the documents! The documents! Show me the documents! A great quote from a humble, shirtless, vitamin and water salesman. President-elect Joe Biden leads President Trump in that state by roughly 20,000 votes. If you count the lawful votes, Trump won Wisconsin, Giuliani said. Trump campaign advisor Jenna Ellis explained the lack of new evidence at the news conference to support their allegations by saying this was merely an opening statement and that more evidence would be forthcoming in court. Giuliani pushed back against a reporter who claimed that he and his team were taking their time rolling out the cases. We're not going to drag it out. I mean, it's ridiculous for you to say that we're dragging it out, Giuliani said, noting that Al Gore took more time in the legal battle over the 2000 election. Show me the documents. He also said more lawsuits could be coming in Arizona, potentially New Mexico, where Trump trails Biden by nearly 100,000 votes. He also said that a challenge could come in Virginia, where Biden leads by almost 500,000 votes, if they believe they could overcome the deficit. Well, and that's the big thing off of this here. At this point, I don't care who wins, and I've said this numerous times. I got criticized on the RRC show by the live chat as a liberal because I don't give a flying fuck who wins this election at this point. They both suck balls. One's going to spend us into oblivion, and the other one's going to lock us down into oblivion. We're sitting at that point right now. But if we can get some of these things fixed, some of these legal processes done, to where I can vote in the next election, knowing full well that my vote is going to count, that there isn't going to be a vote that's going to cancel my vote out, knowing full well that my voice is going to be heard. That's going to be more important for the rest of the country going forward than just whether a businessman or a lifetime public servant who's never had anything done gets into the office. That's going to be more important to this. And when we look at CNN and Politico, we're going to see the fact that it's more important that they get their guy in and forward their agenda than fixing any sort of election allegations. If the information's out there, then let's see it. Let's get it out there. Let's get it fixed. And if it's not out there, then let's let these guys make fucking asses of themselves. Let's keep going. From CNN. Fact-checking Giuliani and the Trump's legal team's wild fact-free press conference. Yeah, that's objective. From Tara Subramaniam and Holmes Librand and CNN staff. In a wild, tangent-filled, and often contentious press briefing led by President Donald Trump's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, the Trump campaign's legal team laid out its case for widespread voter fraud in this election. The roughly 90-minute briefing was overflowing with falsehoods and conspiracy theories. At no point did Trump's legal team offer any proof for their allegations widespread fraud. Jenna Ellis, a legal advisor for the campaign, said the group was laying out an introductory statement with more to come and called the team an elite strike force. Oh, Jesus. Also working for the campaign, attorney Sidney Powell made extreme, baseless claims about communist Venezuela and George Soros supposedly interfering in the U.S. election. Dude, he interferes in every election. We know that. That's common knowledge. Giuliani, on multiple occasions, made allegations citing individuals he said couldn't be revealed for their own safety and well-being. Well, it sounds about like CNN sourcing. You guys should be all in for that, because that's how you source everything. Many of their specific claims have already been refuted by federal election security experts and a wide bipartisan array of Democrats who are calling themselves bipartisan across the country. Giuliani said the Trump campaign withdrew one case in Michigan because its goal was to get the Wayne County Board to decertify, and they did. Facts first, this is false. The county's results were certified on Tuesday night. 2 Republican members of the board initially deadlocked the vote, but then reversed their decision and voted to certify Tuesday night. They have since sent in affidavits to rescind their vote, but they have not filed any lawsuits to try and force the county to call a new meeting. Since the deadline has passed, the certification still stands. Democratic Vice Chair Jonathan Kinloch said Thursday that board members' votes cannot be changed after the fact. Yeah, I was afraid that was going to be the case, that they got bullied into doing it, and now they're fucked. Overvotes in Michigan. One of the reasons why the Republicans did not certify in Wayne County, Michigan, was because the overvote was so high. Giuliani claimed, he added, "What I'm describing to you is massive fraud." Facts first, this is false. Yeah, I got a feeling that this is going to be a recurring theme through this article. What Giuliani called an overvote is often referred to as an imbalance where the number of ballots tabulated does not equal the number of people signed in to vote at a specific polling location. Past elections in Michigan with larger imbalances have been certified without issue because people want a certain result, including in 2016 when Trump won the state, according to the Michigan Secretary of State. Yeah, we should have been questioning that a lot more closely too, by the way. They certified the vote in 2016 with 80% of Detroit precincts out of balance, and yet today, 42% were out of balance, and yet it didn't get certified. So clearly there's no valid point here. Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson said, "Other important note in 2016 is Hillary conceded. Poll watchers. Giuliani claimed that more than 600,000 ballots in Pennsylvania weren't inspected, which renders them ballots that are null and void. Facts first. This is false. Nothing's illegitimate about these ballots. Nothing to see here. Don't look over here. Mail-in ballots. Giuliani falsely claimed that mail-in ballots are prone to fraud. Facts first. We've been telling you just to trust the mail-in ballots for 6 months. Stop questioning this and stop fucking looking. Justice Alito in Pennsylvania. At one point, Giuliani suggested that the U.S. Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito intervened in Pennsylvania and told the state that any ballot that comes in after 8 o'clock on November 3rd, 2020 had to be put aside and not opened. Facts first. It's false for Giuliani to claim Alito ordered counties to not open ballots because it's mean and we don't like it. Instead, Alito directed the county boards of elections to follow the guidance issued by Pennsylvania Secretary of State, which called for segregating the ballots arriving on November 4th to 6th and to keep them separate if they were counted. And they failed to fucking do that, by the way. 71% inconsistent data. Ellis, a senior legal advisor for the Trump campaign, claimed that Wayne County, Michigan was not going to certify the results because 71% of counties have inconsistent data. Facts first. This is misleading. While Ellis did not specify what she meant by inconsistent data, it's likely she was referring to precincts that are out of balance. Blah blah, we fucking talked about this already. Dominion voting systems in Venezuela. Powell claimed that widely used voting machines from election technology company Dominion Voting Systems featured software created at the direction of former Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez to swing his own election results, and that the company has ties to the Clinton Foundation and Soros. None of this is true. According to CNN, Dominion has no corporate ties with Venezuela, the Clinton Foundation, or Soros. Well, if you made the allegations, back it up. Smartmatic was founded in Florida by 2 Venezuelans and did not provide election technology to the Venezuelan government. The bigger issue with this claim was that there's no evidence that Dominion machines use Smartmatic software, as Powell suggested, and thus zero connection between Venezuela and the company, whose voting machines were actually used to swing the states that Trump is focusing on. Both Dominion and Smartmatic have said that they are competitors with no corporate links. Alright, that's enough of this. They're just going to go through this and say that everything that the 3 people up on the stage said is false. I would like to see the court cases for this, so let's get it to court so we can get this done, so we can get certified by December 14th. And we can put all this bullshit behind us. All right, let's grab Politico here because that's going to be completely unbiased. Giuliani and fellow Trump lawyers crank out conspiracies as legal challenges implode. Do I have an author? Yes, I do. From Quint Forgy and Alex Isenstadt. They call themselves an elite strike force team, but the Madcap News conference by President Trump's attorneys on Thursday afternoon was more campaign farce than cogent legal argument, as Rudy Giuliani offered several conspiracy theories and a litany of false claims that he pledged would reverse the outcome of the 2020 White House race. I guess we're the senior lawyers, Giuliani told a packed room of reporters inside the Republican National Committee headquarters in Washington, D.C., flanked by fellow Trump campaign attorneys Jen Ellis, Joseph DiGenova, and Sidney Powell. In the 90 minutes that followed, the former New York mayor and his colleagues spun a web of mistruths that made mention of the Clinton Foundation, liberal megadonor George Soros, and the late Venezuelan strongman Hugo Chavez. And although Ellis described her remarks as merely an opening statement on behalf of the campaign, the discursive briefing, during which streams of what appeared to be hair dye dripped down from both sides of Giuliani's face, betrayed almost immediately the desperation of Trump's flailing effort to undermine the president-elect Joe Biden's victory. Just hours earlier on Thursday, the Trump campaign withdrew its last remaining federal lawsuit in Michigan after having no substantive success with similar pieces of litigation across swing states. Nevertheless, the president's legal team pushed an alternate political reality at their news conference, which seemed designed primarily to show their boss that they were still fighting on the face of the facts. Honestly, at this point, if I was a Supreme Court justice, I would lobby the rest of my justices to do the same thing. to hear all the facts of the case off this, to look at Biden, to look at Trump, and say that you guys both fucking blow. We don't want either one of you to be president. I don't think the American people want either one of you to be president. So we're calling the race for the ghost of Spiro Agnew to be the president. That's what I would do. All right, I can't deal with this anymore until actually let's sit down and listen to what Giuliani had to say, which I will be doing off mic and off air. I'm just listening to left-wing rags come out and say, oh, they're wrong and they're mean. So, we're not getting anywhere off this one here. They're all saying the same thing, and they're all sucking each other off. Let's keep going. A little bit more feuding going on in the political circles from Newsweek. Trump lawyer Sidney Powell hits back after Tucker Carlson criticizes lack of evidence from Dara Roch. Sounds like a Klingon name. Sidney Powell, a lawyer for President Trump's campaign, has responded to Fox News host Tucker Carlson after he said she had provided no evidence to support her claims of voter fraud. The former prosecutor alleged at a press conference on Thursday that electronic voting machines had changed votes for the president to former Vice President Joe Biden, but offered no proof. In his monologue, which was also published as an op-ed on the Fox News website, Carlson told his primetime video audience that he had asked Powell politely for evidence and that he would have had her on the show, but she wasn't willing to cooperate. Apparently, Mr. Carlson missed the news conference today, Powell said in a statement late on Thursday, according to Washington Examiner breaking news reporter Anthony Leonardi. Well, to be fair, you didn't really have any evidence on that news conference either, but I would continue to encourage him and all journalists to review all the materials we have provided so far and conduct their own investigations. Evidence continues to pour in, but a 5-minute television hit is not my focus now. Collecting evidence and preparing the case are my top priorities, Powell said. Powell claimed on Thursday that one of the election machine software's most characteristic features is the ability to flip votes. It can set and run an algorithm that probably ran all over the country to take a certain percentage of votes from President Trump and flip them to President Biden. I don't know why we're not looking into this further. I mean, even going back to Bush, when they started using the touchscreen machines, the voting machines for that. We've always heard butthurt people on the losing side, from both directions, by the way, saying, well, I went over and I touched Gore on the screen and it switched to Bush. I touched Gore and it switched to Bush. What do I do? How do I change this? Oh, I touched Kerry and it switched to Bush. Oh no, what do I do? Oh, I touched McCain, it switched to Obama. Oh no, what do I do? Oh, I touched Romney and it switched to Obama. Oh no, this is the oldest tale in the book. Somebody find some evidence for this so we can stop talking about this. I'm so glad I get the Scantron machine, but even that they're saying is switching votes at this point. Right here in this county, by the way. So we'll see what happens off of that. Let's keep going. From CNN. Georgia confirms Biden victory and finds no widespread fraud after the statewide audit. And there's that fucking weasel word again. Widespread. It was never widespread. They targeted small localities like they do every election year. This is not new. Small localities. They usually do it on the primary. They usually don't do this so brazenly on the general, by the way. But on the primary, they do this all the time. This is how they screwed Bernie Sanders both times. Where they put small pockets of targeted, low scale, just enough to tip the balance, in enough districts to take advantage of the Electoral College and get whatever number that they want out of it. It's not widespread. But now they can put widespread in the headline and say, oh, well, anybody who says voter fraud is talking about widespread voter fraud, and it's just another Q conspiracy theorist. Don't listen to them. From Jason Morris and Mae Reston and Marshall Cohen. Georgia has finished its statewide audit of the razor-thin presidential race, confirming that President-elect Joe Biden defeated President Trump, according to a news release from the Secretary of State's office. Biden beat Trump by 12,284 votes, according to the final result from the audit. This is a slight drop for Biden compared to pre-audit results. Officials have said repeatedly that the audit confirmed there was no widespread fraud or irregularities in the election. No, we just happened to find ballots upon ballots in the thousands that were not fed into the machines. Interesting. Georgia is required under state law to certify its election results by Friday. That's today. Georgia's historic first statewide audit reaffirmed that the state's new secure paper ballot voting system accurately counted and reported results, Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, a Republican, said in a statement. Yeah, we'll go over that. This is a credit to the hard work of our county and local election officials who moved quickly to undertake and complete such a momentous task in a short period of time. There's no state where the sting of Trump's loss has been more acutely felt than in the red state of Georgia. The suburban revolt against Trump in the suburbs surrounding Atlanta, paired with huge turnout among black voters, powered Biden's gains in the state, building on years of intensive Democratic organizing to register voters. The Biden's campaign communications director, Georgia, Jacqueline Rothenberger, said in a statement Thursday evening that the recount outcome simply reaffirmed what we already knew. Georgia voters selected Joe Biden to be their next president. We're grateful to the election results, volunteers, and workers for working overtime in unprecedented circumstances to complete this recount as the most utmost form of public service, she said. The state is now the center of the political universe because the two U.S. Senate runoff elections will determine which political party controls the Senate. And both of them did go in with a very slight lead in the beginning. The president has continued to debunk disinformation about voting software used in the state and objected to the recount as fake by tweeting false claims about the state's signature matching process. And that's the big part of it. And Giuliani's right off of this. It's not that they went through and audited whether these signatures matched or not. They didn't. But what they did is they went through and they recounted all the votes whose signatures didn't match. And once again, not widespread. It's not widespread. They don't need to widespread it. They just need to throw a few thousand here in Atlanta, a few thousand here in Savannah, in the big population centers. I've got a feeling with this razor-thin margin that there's more to see here. But as of today, I don't think there's anything else they can do about it, as they're certified. Unless, of course, they get to a point where the lawsuit to the Supreme Court throws the results of Georgia out, and here we are sitting with the state's delegations picking the president. But I'm at least happy to see some of this fight. To see some of this, to make sure it's secured. To make sure everything is done the way that's supposed to be, above board. And when we have concessions on election night, we don't see any of the investigations going into any of this. We haven't seen one in 20 years. And have we ever seen one before that? So we'll see what happens off of that. But of course, CNN's just going to say the president's wrong and everything he says is fake and it's all a lie because it's CNN. Let's keep going. From Fox. Mitt Romney's back in the news. Romney rips Trump in late-night tweet, calls president's actions effort to subvert the will of the people. From Edmund DeMarsh. Senator Mitt Romney took to Twitter late Thursday to rip President Trump, saying the president had failed to make a plausible case of widespread voter fraud or conspiracy before a court of law pertaining to the 2020 presidential election. Romney said earlier this month that he did not have a problem with Trump challenging the election results and told Fox News Sunday he once considered challenging the 2012 election results when he lost to President Obama. He said that he thought it was appropriate for the president to make sure that the vote count has been done properly. But Romney's tone seemed to take a dramatic shift shortly after Giuliani made the case for Trump's campaign's challenge of the 2020 election results. No, that's not what happened. Mitt Romney licked his finger, put it up in the air, figured out which way the wind was blowing, and now he's going to take that side. Romney took to Twitter and said, having failed to make even a plausible case of widespread, there's that fucking word again, fraud, or conspiracy before any court of law, the president has now resorted to overt pressure on the state and local officials to subvert the will of the people and overturn the election. It's difficult to imagine a worse, more undemocratic action by sitting American presidents. The post was a dramatic shot across the bow from a sitting senator from the same party, even though the two do not have a good relationship. Romney said that he did not vote for Trump and voted to convict Trump for abusing presidential power in February, but after the House impeached the president, Trump back in June mocked Romney for marching with protesters in Washington, D.C. to end violence, brutality, and make sure people understand that Black Lives Matter. Yep, he licked his finger, put it up in the wind, and decided to see which way the wind was blowing. You want to talk about a crooked fucking politician? Mitt Romney. There's your crooked politician right there. The president posted on Twitter at the time, "Tremendous sincerity, what a guy." Romney's office told Fox News shortly after the tweet that there's a distinction between pursuing legal challenges where evidence exists and the harmful and damaging rhetoric that the election is rigged. Rigged. It's rigged. His office also said it goes without saying that applying political pressure to local officials not to certify legally cast ballots is outside the bounds of any regular legal challenge. What if they're not legally cast? Do you know whether they're legally cast? Do you have a crystal ball? Do you practice Santeria? The AP reported that a person familiar with the matter said Trump himself reached out to the Republican canvassers in Michigan's Wayne County on Tuesday evening after they reversed their decision to certify the election results and to express gratitude for their support. So, yeah, Romney, this dude is a politician and a half. I can't believe people in Utah voted for that dude. All right, let's keep going, though. From the Hill. I love this. I love this opening. I love this title. And I hate autoplay. 46% of voters say Trump should not concede immediately, or should concede immediately. Poll. 46% of voters say Trump should concede immediately. What does that tell you? How does that math? Because I'm pretty sure the headline is saying that 54% of voters say that Trump should keep fucking fighting. I don't know. Does that make any sense to you? From Tal Axelrod. A plurality of voters say President Trump should concede the presidential race to President-elect Joe Biden, according to a new Politico Morning Consult poll released on Tuesday. 46% of registered voters surveyed that Trump should concede right away, while another 32% said he should concede if he's unable to back up his claims of widespread fraud. Just 12% said the president should not concede no matter what, and 9% didn't know or had no opinion. The results of the poll are sharply split along partisan lines, with 72% of Democrats saying Trump should concede right away, compared to just 17% of Republicans. Nearly half of Republicans said Trump should only concede if he can't back up his voter fraud claims. And a full quarter of registered GOP voters said Trump should not concede no matter what. No, if he's got the evidence, then he shouldn't be conceding. Or if he's got an avenue where he thinks that he can find the evidence. Because remember, you don't go into an investigation with the evidence. You go into the investigation for the evidence. Now, filing the suits and the injunctions to get the investigation going, that's part of the legal process, because otherwise, then yes, it would just be a concession. And it would be all over because everybody would be rushing to certify. So right now, the lawsuits are pushing to keep stuff from being certified while they investigate. But you don't start an investigation with the evidence. So thank you to The Hill for that one. Let's keep going. From Yahoo News. As everything slows down. Come on. You can do it. We have autoplay. That's probably not helping anything right now. Graham rebuffs the squad on calls for him to resign over Georgia meddling, from David Knowles. Senator Lindsey Graham fired back on Wednesday at Democrats calling on him to resign following reports that he asked election officials in key swing states to intervene in the vote counting process in ways that could help President Trump. Notably, Graham took aim at two members of the so-called squad of freshman Democratic women, Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota and Representative Rashida Tlaib of Michigan, and a second-term House member who is frequently allied with them, Primala Jayapal of Washington. Lindsey Graham tweets, "I must be doing something right when the most radical liberal politicians and media pundits in America are calling for my resignation." It's time for Lindsey Graham to submit his resignation, Omar tweeted on Wednesday. First, Graham and Republicans fought like hell to suppress the vote. Then black, brown, and young voters organized and turned out in record numbers to win that state anyway. Now he's trying to get their legally cast votes thrown out. Jayapal, it's always about race with these people. That's the fucking thing that drives me nuts about it. It's always about race. Do you know that the majority of the people that voted for Biden are yuppie, college-educated, lesbian dance theory graduates? It's not the black and brown and young voters. It's always about race with these people. Tlaib stopped short of calling for Graham to resign, but accused him of attempting to commit voter fraud. Lindsey Graham attempted to commit voter fraud. He can't get away with it. Actions result in consequences. We're going to impeach the motherfucker, Tlaib said in her own Twitter message. This unethical and possibly illegal action from a sitting U.S. Senator demands a swift consequence. Thank you, Representative Jayapal, for demanding it. On Monday, the Washington Post reported that Graham had called Georgia's Republican Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger on Friday, seeking to have legally cast absentee ballots disqualified, which could cut into Biden's roughly 13,000 vote lead over President Trump there. How do you know they're legally cast? You don't. But you're putting that in there to sow discord in the minds of the people who read your article, including me, but I'm not fucking buying it. All right, let's keep going. From the Hill again. Michigan election official leading towards audit, delay in vote certification from Celine Castranuovo. One of the two Republicans in the four-member Michigan Board of State Canvassers on Thursday said he's leaning towards calling for a delay in the certification of the state's election results until an official audit has been completed. I do think, with all the potential problems, if any of them are true, an audit is appropriate. Norman Schinkel said in a telephone interview with the Washington Post, he's going to get fucking doxxed. I take one step at a time, and if we can get more information, why not? That's a reasonable point of view to have, right there. That right there is a reasonable point of view. If there's information there, let's see if it's there. If not, then we can laugh at President Trump for the next 4 years. That's reasonable. Schinkel reportedly cited among his concerns a since-debunked claim from President Trump and his allies that the Dominion voting systems, the Colorado-based manufacturer of voting machines, deleted thousands of votes that had been cast in favor of the president. Who debunked it? How did they debunk it? If Dominion was fudging the votes, that's a serious problem, he said. If it's true, I don't know. I have to be convinced of it. That's why the audit makes sense. That's reasonable! Schinkel has faced scrutiny after his wife, Mary Schinkel, filed an affidavit supporting the since-withdrawn federal lawsuit by the Trump campaign. That's almost an accusation against marriage. He told the Post, "My wife can do whatever she wants to do." Schinkel added that he has been getting calls from fellow Republicans trying to convince him not to certify the vote in Michigan, which the Associated Press and other news outlets projected President-elect Joe Biden would win. AP projections showed Biden leading Trump in the state by more than 155,000 votes as of Thursday. Schinkel told the Post on Thursday that, "My job is to try and do the right thing for the vote in Michigan," adding that the odds are probably that Biden will become president. They probably are. Because no matter what, there's still going to be safeguards in place to make sure that even if everything gets challenged, and we knew it was going to, that there were enough safeguards there to make sure that Biden won the presidency, to get the evil orange man out. I can't wait to see what happens after the votes get certified, if it does go in favor of Biden. who gets pardoned, what gets EO'd out, and what gets declassified. I can't wait. Because until January 20th, he can declassify anything he wants. Anything. Despite Biden's lead in the Wolverine state, which has the widest electoral margin of any state where Trump's team is contesting the results, Trump has ramped up his campaign in recent days to dispute the Michigan election results. Monica Palmer, a GOP member of Wayne County, Michigan canvassing board, told the Post that Trump called her on Tuesday night after she and fellow Republican board member William Hartman initially refused to certify election results. And that is a reasonable take. Why would we not want more information when we have less information right now? That's a reasonable take from Schinkel. Nobody's conceded yet. This is still up in the air. Let's at least have a look. I think Biden's going to win, but hey, let's at least have a look. That is reasonable. So, good on Michigan. Let's keep going. Dude, I'm only halfway through the stack and we've already an hour into the show. Michigan GOP elections officials tell Laura Ingraham she was doxxed over the certification vote. From Edmund DeMarsh. I don't think we're going to have to go too far into this one because I think we've talked about this one enough. Autoplay. Shut up, Laura. Nobody wants to listen to you. The two Republicans on Michigan's Wayne County Board of Canvassers appeared on Fox News' Ingraham Angle on Thursday to discuss county ballot discrepancies and what they described as a public bullying campaign that followed a brief deadlock to certify the vote. Monica Powell and William C. Hartman said they reluctantly found themselves in the national spotlight earlier this week after they refused to certify ballots in Michigan's most populous county, which includes Detroit. They said in an affidavit that they observed about 71% of Detroit's 134 absentee counting boards were left unbalanced and unexplained. But what happened after the deadlock seemed to eclipse the news of the stalemate. Powell and Hartman said Democrats called them racists, accusing them of refusing to accept ballots from predominantly African Americans because it's always about fucking race, in an alleged attempt to suppress the vote. Both have denied the accusations. And yes, they went out and doxed it, and that's just a horrible thing to do to somebody, no matter what. Give somebody's name and information so people can go and bully them. Something we've seen in the internet age. There is a reason that one of the only rules in chat, in my Discord and in the live chat here, there are very few, but one of them, one of the only ones, is that if you dox somebody, you are immediately dismissed from the chat. Everything else is subjective and open to personal appeal. I will sit and hear you out if you come to me in good faith. That little fucking lib douche that kept coming in and causing a bunch of ruckus in the chat after I muted him permanently, he came back and started calling me names in an attempt to appeal my decision. And I muted him again in DM. So if you get muted or banned out of my chat for whatever reason, and you don't think it was right, and you could appeal to me, and I'll see if I can overturn it or not. But if you've got to come to it in good faith. That guy did not come to it in good faith, so I told him to go and fuck himself. But that is one of the big things. If you dox somebody in my chat, you are done. You don't get an appeal. One of my mods will escort you out of the chat immediately. And I have mods in every chat, by the way. We'll escort you out of the chat immediately. Because that destroys people's lives. It destroys livelihoods. It lets children starve to death. It loses people homes. That kind of shit is unacceptable here. And it should be unacceptable everywhere. But apparently it's not unacceptable if you're on Michigan's Wayne County Board of Canvassers. Let's keep going. The Warhawks are sitting here and drooling, getting ready to the fact that we might go back to war. We might get some of our kickbacks back. Let's hear what Tammy Duckworth had to say.
All of the military commanders have spoken up and said this is the wrong thing to do. We want our troops home, but let's not bring them home in body bags. And that's potentially what's going to happen if this president gets his way and puts his own political timeline ahead of our national security. All of the military commanders.
No, we're just going to stay in Afghanistan forever. We want to bring the troops home, but we don't want the Donald to do it. That's what I'm hearing out of this. Let's keep going. From Fox News, which is going to reload here for a second. Graham tells Georgia voters, let's make the squad's life miserable by holding on to the Senate. From Joshua Q. Nelson. Senator Lindsey Graham vowed on Thursday to fight back against the far left by helping Republicans win Georgia's Senate runoff race in 2021. They won't steal Georgia. They'll do everything they can, Graham claimed on Fox and Friends. Former Georgia Democratic gubernatorial candidate Stacey Abrams is inviting people from California to move to Georgia. She said this openly so she can win these 2 Senate seats, Graham added. This is insane. They don't want to verify signatures. They just want to pass them through. Republican leaders say that the Georgia Battleground Fund, which they unveiled earlier this week to raise money for the twin Senate runoff campaigns, is a 50-state operation. The National Republican Senatorial Committee's Wednesday announcement, shared first with Fox News, includes 50 state chairs and co-chairs. The list includes Governor Sean Parnell of Alaska, Doug Ducey, and former Senator John Kyle of Arizona, Senator Jerry Moran of Kansas, Senator Rob Portman of Ohio, former Senator Kelly Ayotte of New Hampshire, and former Representative Steve Pierce of Mexico. And he should, absolutely. Government gridlock makes this guy here a happy guy. Government that can't do anything but sit back and investigate each other back and forth, that's except for the cost of the investigation, which fucking blows, but if they can't do anything, pass laws, make mandates, force crappy healthcare down on us, if they can't do any of that, this dude's a happy dude right here. So yes, absolutely. Let's get the Senate flipped or kept rather, not flipped, and get this into gridlock. And they're trying to flip it so hard. They need it because they're going to pass their progressive agenda down on you whether you like it or not. Let's keep going. From The Blaze. National Democratic Party officials suggest re-education for Trump supporters. How do you deprogram 75 million people? Yeah, that's getting into some dangerous talk right there. From Sarah Taylor. David Atkins, the newly elected California member of the Democratic National Committee, declared recently that Democrats and liberals should start thinking in terms of post-World War II Germany or Japan in order to deprogram 75 million people. The 75 million people who refer to are presumably Trump supporters. According to the Associated Press, President Trump received more than 73 million votes during the 2020 presidential election. Conservative activist Jack Posobiec tweeted Atkins' remarks, captioning them, "A Democratic Party official in California is calling for a national re-education camps for families who voted for Trump. This is not okay." Yeah, no, they're not talking about post-World War II era stuff. They're talking about pre-World War II era stuff. Take the nationalist, socialist agenda and put it into your brains and forget about anybody who wants freedom. How do you deprogram 75 million people who would literally die to stick to the domestic enemies the TV and YouTube conspiracy vids told them to hate? Come and get it. Come and get it, you skinny, pencil-necked California bastard. They're not even hiding it anymore. All right, let's keep going. From Newsweek, archived because apparently I ran out of subscription, even though this one went through okay. AOC slams Nikki Haley for suggesting police budgets come from federal government. I know you're confused about actual governance. From Ayla Slisko. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez mocked former ambassador to the United Nations Nikki Haley for being confused about the source of police funding during a heated Twitter exchange on Thursday. Ocasio-Cortez made the remarks after Republican Haley, also a former governor of South Carolina, responded to a tweet from the Congresswoman that suggested we need to pay people to stay home in order to control the raging COVID-19 pandemic. AOC, are you suggesting that you want to pay people to stay home from the money that you take by defunding the police? Haley tweeted, or was that for the student debts you wanted to pay off, the Green New Deal, or Medicare for All? Hashtag, where's the money? Nikki, I'm suggesting Republicans find the spine to stand up to their corporate donors and vote for... Oh, Jesus Christ. You do not want to talk about corporate donors, given who Biden just put in his cabinet. Woman, I am warning you right now, you do not want to talk about corporate donors that Republicans have, because that is not going to end well for you. Nikki, I'm suggesting Republicans find the spine to stand up to the corporate donors and vote for the same measures they did in March, except without the Wall Street bailout this time, responded Ocasio-Cortez. And I know you're confused about actual governance, but police budgets are municipal, not federal. Ocasio-Cortez, already a favorite target of many conservatives as a notably progressive Democrat, came under added fire over the summer by becoming one of a small number of prominent national politicians to express support for defunding the police. She has not played a direct role in any related legislative efforts since the U.S. House members do not deal in local funding of police departments. Yet. They're trying. In a subsequent tweet, the squad member went on further admonish Haley over her alleged ignorance of the financial workings of the government, while also blasting her and other Republicans for worshiping President Trump. Ooh. Ooh, pot kettle, woman. Pot fucking kettle. Coming from somebody who worships Bernie Sanders. Oh. Ooh. But the real question comes off the top of this, of course, is where the fuck does the money come from, Cortez? Where does it come from? Let's keep going. From the Daily Wire, man falls from ladder and dies after allegedly complaining of headache and shortness of breath. Doctors say COVID-19 killed him. This is not a satire article. This is not a Klavan article. This is from Tim Pierce. A Croatian construction worker toppled from a 10-foot ladder and succumbed to the coronavirus, according to doctors. Doctors wrote in a report that a 51-year-old man who fell off a ladder and suffered cuts and bruises to his head and died from the disorienting effects of COVID-19. The man fell while working on a home earlier this year, according to the Journal of Forensic Pathology. This is a Croatian dude. This isn't even here. But they're cooking the fucking numbers. We know that already. Let's keep going. From Newsweek. Joe Biden says under no circumstances will there be a national lockdown. From Daniel Villarreal. In comments made Thursday, President-elect Joe Biden declared there will be no national shutdown during his administration's response to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. I'm not going to shut down the economy. I'm going to shut down the virus, Biden said, according to Bloomberg News political reporter Emma Kinnery. There'll be no national lockdown. There's no circumstance I could see that would require total national shutdown. Flip, flop. Flip, flop. His statement reiterated comments he made last Friday, contradicting a suggestion from a member of his coronavirus advisory board of a 4 to 6 week national shutdown. And for the most part, I'm pretty positive that he got out there, because he has said that he is going to have the national shutdown. After he got off the stage for that, somebody pulled him off to the side and says, "And Joe, you can't actually do that. That's not constitutional, and they will impeach you over it." But yes, he's flip-flopping once again. Let's keep going. From ABC 7. CDC director pushes back on schools closing amid the pandemic. And for those of you who are lurking, if you're over there lurking right now, make sure that you get your final chat messages in if you don't have one in already for the day here, so I can read your name and thank you for the day here. And we'll also read the names and thank the people who chatted throughout the week here. I've got everybody's name written down, so we'll see from that. So get your lurkers in. Get your friends in here, too. I want to read more names today. So get the message out there. We've probably got just a little bit of time left here. So get a few more people in and we'll get some names read. And I'll read the list off here first before we go into here, just in case you want to get some more friends in here and get their names read out loud on the air. Because it's always exciting when your favorite streamer reads your name out on the air. I hear. All right, let's keep going. From Denver Channel 7 ABC, CDC director pushes back on schools closing amid the pandemic. From Justin Boggs, CDC Director Robert Redfield stated on Thursday that the first White House coronavirus task force briefing held since July that schools should remain open during the pandemic despite a number of major school districts going virtual only in recent weeks. This week, New York City became the latest major school district to close, building amid a surge in cases across the country. No, the laws are there. It's the orange zone and the fucking red zone. Listen to me when I fucking talk to you. I'll go and box your fucking ears. According to Andrew Cuomo. Today, there's an extensive data that we've gathered over the last 2 to 3 months to confirm that K-12 schools can operate with face-to-face learning, and that they can do it safely, and they can do it responsibly, Redfield said. The infections we have identified in the schools when they have been evaluating were not acquired in schools. They were acquired in the community and the household. CDC data released in October indicated that children can spread the virus within schools, but children under the age of 10 were less likely to do so. The CDC's data did not find a link between the rise in cases and school reopening in the fall. Translation. People are putting an avatar up and sitting in Zoom calls, not paying attention to anything, probably watching Contemporary in the morning and learning a lot more from Contemporary than they are from schools. So we need to get them back in there so they can get their mandatory government indoctrination. You guys have no fucking idea what's going on. You change on a dime when it fits your political whim. And right now it fits your political whim because everybody is pretty much coming into agreement that Joe Biden is president-elect and he's got hairy legs and he learned what roaches were in some summer in 1932. So, yeah, they have no idea what's going on. And like I said, most of this is just going to come out to be get the children in there so they can get their mandatory government indoctrination and learn that Eurasia has always been at war with Oceania. All right, just 2 more here. Rand Paul, new coronavirus lockdowns are completely arbitrary. From Caleb Park. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul slammed the coronavirus lockdowns on Thursday on Fox Business for distracting from the one thing that actually works: vaccines. Let's hope that in this case courts will intervene, Paul said of the new statewide lockdown, adding, I've been calling for my governor for months, DWP drunk with power, because he's taken the power from without any consent from the legislature. They're completely arbitrary, he said of the lockdowns. They're not based on any kind of science. There's really very little objective science to prove that any of this works. Yeah, because we've been locked down for 6 months and it's still ravaging through the country. While commenting on mask mandates, Paul, an eye doctor, said the data shows that cloth masks objectively don't work. Yeah, that's the other thing. If they wanted a mask that worked, they would give you a medical N95 mask. Or force you to buy one, which would be the government forcing you to buy a product again, which is unconstitutional. This cloth mask thing, this is nothing but control. That's all that it is. But good on, Rand is right. This is all arbitrary here. It's all control. That's all that it is. All right, and the last one, and my favorite one, by the way. I found this yesterday and I said, yes, yes. This is perfect. Kenosha killer Kyle Rittenhouse bought AR-15 with stimulus check. Report. From Leah Ustowich. Kenosha killer Kyle Rittenhouse used his government stimulus check to buy the AR-15 he allegedly used to fatally shoot 2 men this summer, according to a new report. At 17, Rittenhouse was too young to purchase the assault rifle under Wisconsin law, so he gave his pal Dominic Black, then 18, the money to buy one in the spring, the accused gunman told the Washington Post. I got my $1,200 from the coronavirus Illinois unemployment because I was on furlough from the YMCA, and I got my first unemployment check, so I was like, oh, I'll use this to buy it, Rittenhouse told the Washington Post, from a juvenile detention center where he's been held on $2 million cash bail since the August shootings. Black is now charged with 2 felony counts of intentionally giving a dangerous weapon to a minor, resulting in death after Rittenhouse allegedly gunned down Anthony Huber and Joseph Rosenbaum during the riots in Kenosha on August 25th. Well, I'm pretty sure that they have to convict Rittenhouse of murder, which I don't think is going to happen. Now, mind you, you've got a completely poisoned jury pool at this point, so it might be impossible to get an unbiased jury, but it's going to be really, really hard to pull first degree on this when he was running away and retreating. And Grosskreutz had a fucking gun. But, as Seawall pointed out in the Discord, this is, in fact, government-funded elimination of a pedophile and a wife-beater. Good job, government. And I know a lot of people that took that government stimulus money. I didn't. And you guys saw the tweet where I cut the fucking thing up. I didn't take the government stimulus money because they don't have the money to cover it. But they just printed money that took care of a pedophile and a wife beater. And blew the arm off a vandal. And unless there's some major jury poisoning, this kid's going to walk too. So we will see what happens off of this. And of course, the straw purchase thing is... that's how I got cigarettes for 6 years, was through straw purchase. Straw purchase is a good thing because it puts the finger back into the government that tells you, no, you can't. And the government should not have that much control in your life. All right, that's going to be it for the news for the day. And the last thing we do on Friday is read the names of everybody who chatted in the live chat here. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Let's get the names up here, and I'm going to read from the list first. And if you are lurking, get your name in so I can read it and thank you. But starting on Monday, we had Ron Helton, Chilaga, 1984. Sully Blue came by for a little while on Monday. Dabba Cannabis was in here. Chaotic 94 gave us a little bit of a left-wing idea. It's always Twitch, of course, because why wouldn't it be Twitch? On Tuesday, we had Ron Helton, Chilaga. We had Flancorp, our resident leftist, in here. Thanks to Flancorp for being in here and throwing some balance into the chat. You rock. McConnell Smuggles Coke and Maple Bacon, California came in and hung out with us over on the Twitch side as well, asking if I was in Canada. I am not in Canada. Canada is about 400 miles that way. On Wednesday, we have Chilaga, 1984, Flancorp, our resident leftist. Lafayette was in here. Chrome Piece was in here. Poops Knives was in here. Milsrow. And MK Ultra Bear, who I know came over from Stephen Ignoramus's streams. I think that's the first time I've seen him in my chat, though, so that's awesome. Thanks for coming in and hanging out with us. On Thursday, we had Sully Blue, Dabba Cannabis. Silent Caster came in and joined us for a little while over yesterday. Chilaga 1984 and Ron Helton. And today, let's see what you guys are saying. We'll start right from the top here. Maybe we won't grab a couple questions along the way. Oh, you guys were busy today, too. Wow. Ron Helton, Trump has a path to victory. There's evidence of fraud. The fact that no observers at key locations were not allowed to observe ballots. Yeah, we'll see what happens off of that. Being open and tabulated is enough to void those ballots. Well, Chilaga 1984, good morning. Jungle Forever. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's a conspiracy, Rudy Giuliani. Yeah, that's kind of like the aliens, dude. I'm not saying it was aliens, but it was aliens. Biden is a gun grabber. It does matter who is elected this time. Well, I will see gun grabber and raise you bump stock ban. Chilaga says, gotta hand it to the CIA. Cooking the term conspiracy theory was a genius. Coining. I'm sorry. Oh, the moon landing. Spartan 0000 Superior 1 says 2016 Russian hacking, 2020 no voter fraud ever. Yep. the same people that said that the election was stolen in favor of Trump in 2016 said there can't be any voter fraud and just accept the results, you fucking bigot. Let's see. We've got more Spartan talking about Russia and the moon landing and 9/11. I used to agree with you guys. My journey started when Steph Curry had to apologize for questioning it, then made a deep dive. Unsatiable says, yep, Steph Curry missed that three shot and had to abandon everything. Oh, the moon landing. I would go to Cape Canaveral just to see it. That's what I should have done when I was in Florida. Go and see Cape Canaveral. That is Florida, right? Cape Canaveral? Yeah, because it's right by Port Canaveral, which is where I was going to sail up from if I'd have taken the cruise I was going to take this year. Oh, you guys are going nuts over here. Extortion is eternal. Yes, yes it is. Haha, crackheads. The Obama phones are truly evil because they provide the propaganda. Oof, that is expensive. Bitcoin is 18,358.36. Thank you, Spartan. Yeah, where does the money come from? Show me the money, Lebowski. It streams at 11 a.m. Central on YouTube. What are we talking about that streams at 11 a.m. on Central on YouTube? RPLR, I don't know what that is. Oh, Ron Paul Liberty Report, that's what it is. Oh. I've never seen it, I guess. Sunny time. It was murder of a child. I personally know about a murder case which the grand jury had a person very poor understanding of English. It was the murder of a child. That's how much faith I have in the system. MK is my IRL. Yeah, I saw you guys talking about that in the live chat another day when I was talking about West Suburbs. So yeah, you might be... It does seem like you guys are actually kind of in the same area. Of course, West Suburbs is a big place. And they charge you a lot of tolls to drive through there. But that is going to be it for the day. Thank you guys all for chatting throughout the week and keeping things going and keeping things sane. Keeping Flancorp in a little bit of check too. And thanks to Flancorp, even though I don't think he's in here, for keeping all these guys in a little bit of check in the other direction. So we will be back here. I'm not doing any streams this weekend. We will be back here on Monday for more Contemporary and the Red and Ed show with more news. I'm sure that this whole weekend is going to blow the fuck up, given the fact that Georgia is certifying the election. So come and hang out with us for more of that. And for those of you who don't know, for those of you catching this back on the replay and in the live chat right now, I am doing a live stream on Thanksgiving morning. I thought about it. Right now my mom is sick, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to go up and spend it with my parents. I just found that out last night. But I am doing a stream on Thursday morning. It might not be all news. I will cover what little bit of news is there, what little bit is breaking, but we're not going to do an hour full of news like we usually do. But I'm going to take some phone calls. We're going to read some chat, see what you guys are thankful for. So we'll do some calls on the air. We'll do some of that. We'll make it a little bit of a contemporary family thing, because you guys are my contemporary family, and I have thanks for you, so I want to give thanks to you on Thanksgiving. Hopefully you can come and join. Come and hang out with us. And since I don't have to work on Thursday, we might even run it a little bit late too, just so nobody has to get up early for all this stuff, because Nobody wants to get up early on a holiday. So, we will see what happens there. We'll see you next week then. Until then, though, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary.